I'm not going to mention your record against Roger. Was that win over him in the Olympics, was that maybe your biggest win in your career, or something you hold special because it was against a player like Roger, in a field like the Olympics?
Yeah. Really, for so many reasons. That was probably my biggest win. I at the time, I definitely considered him the greatest of all time. He was a guy that I matched up really poorly with because I felt like what I did, he did better. So it was really difficult for me to play him. And any win when you got USA on your chest was always a little bit more special. I always said this is the only matches I ever got nervous for were Davis Cup and Olympics. When you hear Game USA, Advantage USA,
6-3 USA,
it's a lot tougher to deal with than when it's just Game Blake.
And there it is.
And it's just somewhat selfish, or it's just you're representing your family as opposed to representing your whole country. So that one was extremely special, also with how much of a high regard I hold him in as a person, as a human being, as a humanitarian. To get that win against him when he was number one in the world, and you don't want to mention the record, but I'll admit he got me a whole bunch of times and I only got him that once. So it was a really difficult matchup for me, and he got me in some of my biggest matches in the finals of Shanghai Masters Cup and the finals of Cincinnati, the finals of Indian Wells. It was a tough matchup for me, but to get one win really made me feel like I could hopefully on a given day beat anyone in the world.
Well, I guess you have to adapt, and you have to continually evolve as a player. Otherwise, you become sort of a static target for other players to dissect you and say, okay, this is how we can beat so-and-so. Another thing, and this sort of ties in with Rafa, is injuries. And I think even a few months ago, it was like, man, is he going to continue playing? I think even he was saying, I don't know what I have left in the tank. And now he's already won 3 tournaments here in this year, including the Australian Open. I know injuries cut short your brilliant career. Listen, I deal with this again as a guy who's getting older. You get more aches and pains than you certainly did when you're younger, and it's harder to get past those even in daily life. But I got to think, if you're on the tour, it's got to be so frustrating when your whole life you've had this body that's like been working, in a supreme fashion, and all of a sudden it's not working the way you want it to or it should. How tough is it to overcome those hurdles?
Yeah, it's really difficult. And I give Rafa so much credit because there's no denying his talent. Everyone saw it when he was on tour at 15 years old. He had this ability. He had this incredible mental ability. He had this incredible physical ability. And he had that motor that just never stopped. He still does. And I think a lot of people saw the way he played and said, okay, this guy's going to be tremendous. He's going to be an incredible player, but he's going to burn out by the time he's 28, 29 years old, because you can't keep going that hard. You can't beat up your body that much in practice and matches. And so I think now he's really proving people wrong, because then he has this foot injury that is chronic, and okay, it looks like maybe he's not going to play anymore, or at least maybe he's not going to play on hard courts, only on clay. And he comes out and wins the Australian Open and wins the tune-up for it, and then wins Acapulco. Really amazing, and a credit to his mental ability, because he could also have easily not focused as much on the hard court tennis, tried to say, you know what, all I'm going to do is try to play on clay. That's the easiest on my foot. But he's putting himself out there, and I'm sure he knows. I think Rafa has one of the best attitudes in terms of just doing your best, getting out there and see where the chips fall, just doing everything you can to be ready and not being upset, because he could be taking his career into his hands if that foot injury gets worse and he's playing on hard courts, and he's 35 years old now. So it's not like, one big injury. It's not easy to come back a year later when you're 36 years old. So I think he's doing an incredible job of just enjoying the moments, of getting the most out of his career, and just, being okay with the fact that if he gets hurt now, it might be just about the last tennis he plays at this level.